Anthony in Los
All
Angeles.
right. Anthony in Los Angeles. Hello.
Hey, how are you guys?
Hey,
Good.
thanks for waiting.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey,
Can you hear me?
I'm a very big fan of the show. I've been watching you guys for a couple months now, and you guys have really, I guess, like opened my eyes to a lot of the arguments that were, I guess, on your show, like pertaining to the existence of God, which helped me to sort of make that transition to atheism.
Oh, well, good. Thanks.
Well, I just want to call and thank you guys. But I also have a question about religious family members and friends.
Okay.
You see, I got into atheism not so long ago, probably like a couple months ago. But I was already at that crossroads. And, but I still have my, you still have your family and friends, but they always try to win you back, I guess, to the back to the religious lifestyle. But I already made the decision based on just evidence. I mean, lack of evidence. You got. I'm not one of those atheists that has chosen to become an atheist based on emotion because I was mad at God. It's basically
There
like,
really aren't that many people who do.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
there are some, that like they do believe in God, and then they, something bad happens, and then they blame God for, for doing whatever it is bad that happens to their life, and then they become atheists, but they transition back to the religious lifestyle. But it's basically, I became an atheist because I've always been a skeptic about other things like UFOs, ghosts, but I never really applied that type of reasoning to God. And then when I finally did, it actually, my life makes a lot more sense now
Yeah.
because I see everything realistically.
Right. A lot of people do come to atheism through that route of just general skepticism, and then suddenly you stop giving religion a little hidey hole away from the skepticism, and it doesn't stand up.
Yeah. Well, I have a question about dealing with family members. I guess, what kinds of conversations do you guys refrain from, I guess? Because I try to refrain from certain types of conversations with my family that, I deem it inappropriate, if it's like, I guess the biggest in my family who would try to put people down because they're an atheist. Because I was going through this conversation with my brother, and he was basically, he told me this. He said, I told him, well, what's the difference between me being an atheist and me being a Buddhist? If I were to transition and become a Buddhist, what would you think of me? And then he said this. He said, well, as long as you believe in something, as if atheists don't believe in anything. It's
I believe I'll have another drink.
Yes.
How old a guy are you, Anthony?
I'm sorry?
I just want to know how old you are.
I'm 26.
Okay, so not like financially dependent on your parents in any way, which is the first thing to be scared of.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be financially dependent whether I'm a theist or whether or not I'm an atheist. I mean, the economy doesn't change if you switch, beliefs, I guess. But
well, I'm just asking that because if you are very dependent on your, on the family members that you're basically infuriating, then you have to be a little more careful in that situation because if you make them too mad, then you're definitely gonna have to get a little more self-supporting.
Oh no, actually moving on by the beginning of next week. I mean, not next week, next year.
Okay.
Hopefully, I wish it was next week, but next year I'm moving up to the university because I'm currently attending college.
Cool.
And being in college has also helped, like just with the critical thinking skills that I've attained in college,
Right. Well, here's what I think. You're an adult. They're an adult. And while the Bible does say to honor your father and mother, the reality is that the fact that people are family members does not entitle them to any more of your time and respect than any other adult person you know. I mean, they say you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. But as you get older, you can also pick whether you really want to stay friends with your family. Ideally, we'd all like to, and I think that it's good to keep those bonds up because, I mean, all else being equal, it's nice to have some people who love you and can be relied on. But if there comes a point when your family members are just jerks and unpleasant to be around, you shouldn't think too hard about what can I do not to anger them. You should think, how much do I like these people enough to hang around with them?
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, you've got freedom of association. If you want to argue with your brother, then you know there's like several reasons you might do that. One is you might argue with him in front of other family members because you think they might be persuaded. Another is that you just like arguing with your brother because it's good practice for you when you deal with other theists. And the third is that you think you might actually change his mind, which I can tell you right now often does not happen. If none of these reasons apply, if you've got no particular reason to be arguing with him, then you don't have to be ashamed of just saying, look, I'm not that interested in talking to you about this.
Yeah, but I generally stay away from, I guess the theists in my family that I generally stay away from are these people who have had some sort of experience, I guess a bad experience, a drug addiction, and they sort of get better with their life, but they attribute that to religion. Generally, I stay away from conversations because if I get into a conversation with them, it's sort of like they'll find it very offensive if I go against that.
Well, yeah, sure. And part of it is that some of these, especially the 12-step based programs, convince addicts that the only way they got sober was by following this program, and the only way they stay sober is to keep following this program.
Higher power.
Yeah, and what it does is it robs them of the ability to recognize that they've actually done all the hard work to beat this addiction on their own, and they are doing all the hard work every day to stay sober. So in my mind, it's really kind of disrespectful to the people that are actually doing the work here. They're sort of giving it all up to this so-called higher power. And if you challenge that, basically they have been conditioned by these programs to react as if you're challenging their sobriety, the foundation of their sobriety. And so they're going to push back on that pretty hard. So, you know, I don't know what the answer is. In general, I try not to get into those conversations with people who are addicts and who are really invested in these 12-step programs. And part of that is because my perspective on this is that they've often replaced one addiction for another.
It's,
you know,
it's just like you said, they replace one, I guess, addiction for another. I find that religion is not necessarily the best answer in solving life's problems.
Oh, I agree.
And but there's another set of people that I tend to not even deal with because they're sort of like the type of theists that say they believe anything, but they don't give any kind of reverence or any kind of worship to the deity of their choice. It's sort of like that. Well, I believe in it, but I'm like I believe in God, but I live like hell. Basically, like those types of people, they give no recognition to the God.
Those are the kinds of people that I would probably, you know, try to sort of subtly influence, not by getting in knockdown, drag-out arguments over God, but just occasionally making sort of an offhand, jokey remark about religion being ridiculous. And there's lots of ways that religion is obviously ridiculous, even to religious people. And I've noticed, you know, I've worked in a lot of different environments, and my coworkers right now, I don't know if they're atheists or not, and I don't really care, but I feel comfortable saying something like, at lunch Friday, I said, hey guys, happy end of the world day again. And everybody laughed, because, you know, according to Harold Camping, the world was supposed to end again, and it didn't, and Harold Camping is ridiculous. And it doesn't matter if these people actually have some sort of slight belief in God, anybody can see that Harold camping is ridiculous. That's a good way to sort of, take occasional jabs at religion without actually coming out and being mean to the people you're talking to and saying, everything you believe is bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have made that whole joke with Harold Camping. I made it with my friends. I really made them laugh when I said, did you notice that Harold Camping was the only one that was raptured along with his millions of dollars? I just found that kind of weird, Like all these other people that are waiting for the rapture didn't get to go. I guess heaven is expensive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess God is you really got to pay.
I've heard there are many palaces in the kingdom of the Lord, and the rent there ain't cheap.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys.
All right.
Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thanks for calling.
All right, thank you.